The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the merchant vessel Star Horizon as it made its way through the Centauri sector. The ship's engines hummed softly, creating a peaceful atmosphere throughout the vessel. Captain Hei-Jin Park sat in her command chair, reviewing the daily reports while her crew of 15 went about their duties with practiced efficiency. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, monitoring the various systems that kept the Star Horizon running smoothly. The ship's sleek design and polished exterior concealed its true capabilities beneath a civilian facade. Most passing vessels would see nothing more than a standard merchant ship carrying cargo between human colonies. Navigator Da Ho Kim's fingers danced across his console as he plotted their course through the sector. The routine calm of their journey was suddenly interrupted when his sensors picked up an anomaly. He double-checked the readings before speaking up. "Captain, I'm detecting an unknown vessel approaching from bearing 045, Kim reported, his voice carrying a note of concern. "The configuration doesn't match anything in our database." Captain Park rose from her chair, her black uniform crisp and neat as she moved to study the holographic display floating in the center of the bridge. The three-dimensional image showed a ship unlike anything they had encountered before. Its design was angular and predatory, with forward-swept wings that reminded her of ancient Earth's hunting birds. Before she could give any orders, 3 more identical ships suddenly appeared around them, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in a perfect formation. The tactical display showed the Star Horizon surrounded on all sides. "They're taking up attack positions," Tactical Officer Min Su Cho observed, his hands hovering over his weapon controls. "Should I power up our defensive systems?" Captain Park held up her hand, signaling him to wait. "Not yet. Let's see what they want first." "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," Communications Officer Sun mightily announced from her station. "They're broadcasting on standard frequencies." "Put it on screen," Park ordered, straightening her posture as she prepared to face whatever was about to appear. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that made several crew members gasp. The alien commander stood at least 8 feet tall, its body covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors in the light. Multiple eyes blinked independently as it regarded the human crew, and when it spoke, its voice came through the universal translator in broken but understandable standard English. "Attention, inferior vessel," the alien commander's words dripped with contempt. "You have entered space claimed by the mighty Drachnid Empire. Your cargo is now our property. Surrender immediately or face destruction." Captain Park maintained her composure, even as she noted her crew tensing at their stations. "I am Captain Hei-Jin Park of the Earth Federation merchant vessel Star Horizon. We are on a registered trade route and have every right to be here. This vessel is under the protection of the Earth Federation. I suggest you reconsider your actions." The alien commander's scales rippled with what might have been amusement. "Earth Federation. We have heard of your kind. Soft creatures who hide behind words and treaties. Your primitive vessel poses no threat to us. We have disabled bigger ships than yours. This is your final warning," Park stated firmly. "Withdraw now, and we can avoid any unpleasantness." The alien's multiple eyes narrowed, and its scales darkened to a threatening shade of purple. "You dare to threaten us? Your puny ship is surrounded. Your weapons, if you even have any, are no match for our superior technology. Prepare to be boarded. If you resist, we will vent your atmosphere and collect your frozen corpses along with your cargo." Captain Park's expression remained neutral, but her crew could see the subtle tension in her shoulders. They had all trained for situations like this, but facing their first hostile alien encounter was still an intimidating experience. The captain's next decisions would determine not just their fate, but potentially impact human-alien relations for years to come. "All hands," Park announced over the ship's internal communications, her voice steady and confident. "Prepare for possible hostile action. This is not a drill." She turned to her tactical officer and nodded slightly. "Begin warming up our defense systems, but keep them masked for now." Let's not show our full hand just yet. The alien commander's laughter echoed through the bridge, a harsh sound that sent chills down the crew's spines. Your bravery is admirable, but foolish. In 10 of your minutes, we will begin cutting through your hull. Any resistance will only make your deaths more painful. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Captain Park returned to her command chair, her mind already racing through possible scenarios and solutions. The Star Horizon might appear to be a simple merchant vessel, but appearances could be deceiving. The question now was how to handle this situation without starting an interstellar incident or losing her ship and crew in the process. "Status of the hostile vessels?" she asked, breaking the silence. "They're maintaining their position," Kim reported. "Energy readings suggest they're powering up their weapons systems. All stations, battle stations," Park ordered. "Let's show these raiders why it's never wise to judge a book by its cover." The alien vessels moved with predatory grace as they tightened their formation around the Star Horizon. The raiders clearly expected an easy victory against what they assumed was a helpless merchant ship. On the bridge, Captain Park exchanged a meaningful glance with her tactical officer, Ji-1 Kang, who gave a slight nod of understanding. "All hands, secure for possible combat maneuvers," Park announced over the ship's comm system. Her crew responded with practiced efficiency, securing loose equipment and preparing for whatever came next. "Hostile ships are charging weapons," Kang reported from his tactical station, his fingers moving steadily over the controls. "They appear to be powering up cutting beams." Park sat straight in her command chair, projecting calm confidence for her crew. "Let's give our uninvited guests a proper demonstration of Earth's technological capabilities. Lieutenant Kang, target their lead ship's propulsion system. Warning shot only. We want to disable, not destroy." "Targeting solutions ready," Captain Kang confirmed. The hidden weapon ports beneath the Star Horizon's civilian exterior began powering up, their energy signatures carefully masked to avoid early detection. "Fire when ready, Lieutenant." The Star Horizon's advanced particle beam weapon system activated with barely a whisper. To outside observers, the merchant vessel appeared unchanged until a precise burst of blindingly bright energy lanced out from its hull. The beam struck the alien flagship's engine section with pinpoint accuracy, sending cascading power failures through its systems. On the main view screen, the alien commander's multiple eyes widened in shock as their ship's engines went dark. The iridescent scales across its face shifted to a pale, ashen color that likely indicated fear or surprise. "Impossible," the alien commander sputtered through the translator. "This cannot be. Merchant vessels do not carry such advanced weapons." "Perhaps," Park replied calmly, "you should have considered that before threatening my ship and crew. Your engines will recover in approximately 30 minutes. I suggest you use that time to reconsider your actions." The remaining alien ships began backing away, their own weapons powering down as they reassessed the situation. The raiders had clearly not expected significant resistance, much less such a decisive show of force. "You dare to attack a ship of the Drachnid Empire?" The commander's voice carried a mix of rage and disbelief. "This merchant vessel has military-grade weapons. We prefer to call it self-defense," Park responded. "The Earth Federation believes in being prepared. Now, I'll say this one more time. Leave our space immediately." The alien vessels began pulling back, maintaining formation around their disabled flagship. Their commander's scales had shifted to a deep crimson color as it glared at the human captain through the view screen. "This is not over, humans," the alien snarled. "You have made a grave mistake. The Drachnid Empire does not forget such insults. We will return, and next time we will not underestimate your capabilities." The transmission cut off abruptly. The bridge crew watched as the operational alien ships moved to assist their flagship, attaching towing beams to help it limp away from the confrontation. "Should we stop them, Captain?" Kang asked, his hand still hovering over the weapon controls. Park shook her head. "Let them go. They've learned their lesson for today." Besides, we want them to spread the word about what happens when someone threatens a Federation vessel. Do you think they'll really come back? Navigator Kim asked from his station. Count on it, Park replied grimly. Raiders like these don't give up easily, especially after being humiliated. Send a full report to Federation Command. They'll want to know about this encounter, and we'll need to warn other ships in this sector. As the alien vessels disappeared into the darkness of space, Park allowed herself a small smile. The star horizon had revealed only a fraction of its true capabilities, keeping several surprises in reserve for future encounters. All stations, return to normal operations, she ordered. But stay alert. Something tells me our friends will be back with reinforcements, and next time they won't be so easily discouraged. The bridge crew returned to their duties, but there was a new tension in the air. They had won this first encounter, but everyone knew it was only the beginning. The Drachnid Empire had just learned that human ships weren't the easy targets they had assumed, and their response would likely be both swift and violent. Park settled back in her command chair, already planning for the inevitable return of the raiders. The Star Horizon might look like a simple merchant vessel, but it and its crew would be ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The bright lights of Earth Federation Command gleamed off the polished floors as Captain Park made her way through the bustling corridors. 3 weeks had passed since the Star Horizon's encounter with the Drachnid Raiders, and the situation had grown more complex with each passing day. The emergency briefing room was already filled with senior officers when Park arrived. Large holographic displays covered the walls, showing ship movements and tactical data from across the sector. Intelligence Officer Young Mei Choi stood at the front of the room, her expression grave as she organized her presentation materials. Admiral Sang-Ho Lee motioned for Park to take a seat near the front. The Admiral's usually pristine uniform showed signs of long hours at work, and dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't slept much recently. Let's begin, Admiral Lee announced, bringing the room to attention. Officer Choi, please brief us on the current situation. Choi stepped forward, activating the main holographic display. A 3-dimensional map of the Centauri sector appeared, with multiple red dots indicating enemy vessel positions. Our long-range scouts have confirmed our worst fears, Choi began, her voice steady despite the troubling news she delivered. The Drachnid Empire has assembled a fleet of 30 warships in response to their failed raid attempt. Our intelligence suggests they're gathering more vessels daily. The holographic display zoomed in on a cluster of red markers, showing detailed scans of the alien ships. Park recognized the distinctive predatory design of the vessels that had threatened her ship, but these new ones appeared even more heavily armed. The Drachnids are making no attempt to hide their preparations, Choi continued. In fact, they seem to want us to know they're coming. Their communication channels are filled with bold statements about teaching humanity a lesson in proper combat behavior. Admiral Lee turned to Park. It seems your encounter with their raiders has sparked quite the diplomatic crisis, Captain. The Drachnid ambassador has filed formal protests about our dishonorable use of hidden defenses on merchant vessels. Park sat straight in her chair, meeting the Admiral's gaze. With all due respect, Admiral, I'd rather have my ship and crew be considered dishonorable than dead. The Drachnids attacked without provocation. We defended ourselves with the means at our disposal. Murmurs of agreement came from several other officers in the room. The Admiral raised his hand for silence. I agree completely, Captain. In fact, your actions have given us valuable insight into Drachnid tactical thinking. They believe in overwhelming force and direct confrontation. The idea of a merchant ship carrying hidden defenses offends their military pride. Choi brought up new images on the display. The Drachnids have a strictly hierarchical society. Their military doctrine reflects this. They believe superior forces should always triumph, and that weaker opponents should submit without resistance. Our successful defense has challenged their entire worldview. Then they're in for more surprises, Park stated firmly. Humanity didn't reach the stars by submitting to bullies. Admiral Lee nodded, a slight smile crossing his face. Exactly why you're getting reinforcements, Captain. The Star Horizon will lead our response fleet. We're assigning you 5 additional ships, all disguised as merchant vessels, but carrying full military capabilities. The holographic display shifted to show details of the human vessels that would join the Star Horizon. Each ship looked like a standard cargo carrier on the outside, but Park could see the carefully hidden weapon systems and advanced defensive capabilities they carried. Your mission, the Admiral continued, is to prove to the Drachnids that attacking human ships, any human ships, is a serious mistake. We need to end this before it escalates into full-scale war. Park studied the tactical displays, already forming plans in her mind. What about the diplomatic situation? Sir, let the diplomats worry about proper protocol, Lee replied. Your job is to keep our shipping lanes safe and show the Drachnids that humanity won't be pushed around. The Federation Council has given full authorization to defend our territory by any means necessary. As the briefing continued, Park felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. The coming conflict would set the tone for human-Drachnid relations for years to come. They needed to be firm enough to discourage future aggression, but careful not to provoke an all-out war. When do we deploy? She asked. Your reinforcements will be ready in 48 hours, the Admiral answered. We've already begun evacuating civilian ships from the likely combat zones. Whatever the Drachnids are planning, we'll be ready for them. Park looked around the room at her fellow officers, seeing determination in their eyes. Humanity had faced threats before and survived. The Drachnids were about to learn why it was unwise to underestimate Earth's defenders, whether they flew in warships or merchant vessels. The storm was gathering, but this time they would meet it prepared. Space blazed with weapon fire as the Drachnid fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. 30 warships appeared in perfect attack formation, their weapons already charged and ready to strike. On the bridge of the Star Horizon, Captain Park watched calmly as the enemy vessels approached. All ships maintain communication silence, Park ordered through the quantum entanglement system. Unlike regular communications that could be intercepted, this technology allowed instant, undetectable coordination between the 6 human vessels. The Star Horizon's task force appeared to be nothing more than a small group of merchant ships trying to escape. The other 5 vessels, Aurora, Swiftwind, Morning Star, Blue Dawn, and Nightwalker, scattered in seemingly random directions, appearing to panic at the sight of the Drachnid fleet. They're taking the bait, Tactical Officer Kang reported, watching the enemy movements on his display. The Drachnid fleet is splitting up to chase our ships. Park nodded, a slight smile crossing her face. Excellent. All ships, prepare to execute Battle Formation Delta on my mark. The Drachnid commander's voice boomed across regular communication channels. Surrender now, human vessels. Your pitiful attempts to flee will only make your capture more painful. Park didn't respond to the threat. Instead, she watched as the enemy fleet spread out, each Drachnid ship pursuing what they thought was an easy target. The aliens had no idea they were following a carefully choreographed dance. Formation Delta, Park commanded. Execute now. The response was immediate and beautiful in its precision. All 6 human ships suddenly changed course in perfect synchronization. What had appeared to be random panic transformed into an intricate pattern of movement. The scattered vessels curved through space like dancers, their paths weaving between the Drachnid ships with calculated grace. First wave, fire when ready, Park ordered. Hidden weapon ports opened across all 6 vessels. The Drachnids had only moments to realize their mistake before precise energy beams struck their ships. The human vessels targeted engines, weapons, and communication arrays with surgical accuracy. Multiple hits confirmed, Kang reported with satisfaction. 8 enemy vessels disabled in the first strike. The Drachnid fleet tried to regroup, but their formation was already broken. The human ships continued their complex maneuvers, never staying still long enough to present an easy target. Their quantum entanglement communications allowed them to coordinate their attacks down to the millisecond, making their movements appear almost supernatural to the confused enemy. Drachnid vessels attempting to establish a defensive sphere, Navigator Kim announced. They're trying to protect their flagship. Just as planned, Park responded. All ships, begin Phase 2. Let's show them what these merchant vessels can really do. The Star Horizon led the attack, diving straight toward the enemy flagship. The other 5 human ships matched its movements perfectly, creating patterns that confused enemy targeting systems. When the Drachnids fired, their weapons found only empty space where human ships had been moments before. Enemy fleet showing signs of confusion. Communications Officer Lee reported. Their command structure is breaking down. Several ships are trying to flee. Park keyed her communications to broadcast on all frequencies. Drachnid vessels, this is your final warning. Your attack on Federation shipping ends now. Surrender or face the consequences of your actions. The response came in the form of desperate weapon fire from the remaining Drachnid ships. Their once proud formation had dissolved into chaos as they tried to deal with opponents they couldn't predict or track. They're not going to surrender, Captain, Kang observed. Then we finish this, Park decided. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega. Target their primary systems only. We want to disable, not destroy. The 6 human vessels moved as one, their synchronized attacks striking the Drachnid fleet from multiple angles. Advanced targeting systems picked out vulnerable points on each enemy ship, while quantum communication allowed the human vessels to avoid friendly fire even in the chaos of close combat. Space lit up with energy weapons and explosions as the battle reached its peak. The Drachnid ships, despite their superior numbers, found themselves unable to land effective hits on the nimble human vessels. Every time they thought they had a target locked, the human ships would shift position in ways that seemed to defy normal space combat tactics. Through it all, Captain Park remained steady in her command chair, coordinating the complex dance of ships and weapons. The Star Horizon and its companions showed the Drachnid Empire exactly why it was unwise to underestimate human ingenuity and technology. The battle was far from over, but its outcome was becoming clear. Humanity's response to alien aggression would be remembered for years to come, teaching a valuable lesson about judging ships by their appearance, and about the consequences of threatening Earth's vessels. The bridge of the Star Horizon hummed with focused energy as the crew monitored the ongoing battle. Tactical displays showed the Drachnid fleet's formation breaking apart under the relentless pressure of the human attack. Lieutenant Kang studied his readings carefully before reporting to Captain Park. Captain, the enemy fleet is splitting into 3 groups, he announced, highlighting the movements on the main display. They appear to be attempting to regroup beyond our effective weapon range. A small smile crossed Park's face as she watched the tactical display. The Drachnid ships were moving exactly as Strategic Command had predicted they would. Their rigid military doctrine made their responses predictable to anyone who understood their culture. All ships prepare to execute Phase 2, Park ordered through the quantum communication system. Deploy smart mine packages on my mark. The human vessels continued their synchronized dance through space, their movements designed to guide the enemy ships exactly where Park wanted them. Each time the Drachnids tried to establish a new formation, precision strikes from the human task force forced them to adjust their position. Enemy flagship is signaling their forces to concentrate fire on the Star Horizon. Communications Officer Lee reported. They still think we're the weakest link in our formation. Let them think that, Park responded calmly. Tactical status of our mine deployment systems. All systems ready, Captain. Smart mines are primed and waiting for release. Park watched as the Drachnid ships moved into perfect position. Their attempts to regroup had led them exactly where she wanted them, into a carefully prepared trap zone. Execute Phase 2 now, she commanded. All ships, deploy smart mines and activate gravity well projectors. From the cargo holds of all 6 human vessels, clouds of seemingly harmless debris emerge. To enemy sensors, They appeared to be nothing more than battle damage, until they suddenly activated. Thousands of smart minds came to life, their advanced guidance systems creating an intricate web of death around the Drachnid fleet. Minefield deployed and active, Kang reported. Gravity well projectors coming online now. The Drachnid commander must have realized the danger, because several enemy ships suddenly attempted to jump to faster than light speed. Their engines powered up, and then sputtered into silence as they hit the invisible barrier of human gravity well technology. Enemy ships attempting emergency FTL jumps, Navigator Kim announced. All attempts failing. They're trapped in normal space. The Drachnid vessels found themselves caught in a perfect trap. The smart minds prevented them from moving outward, while the gravity well projectors stopped any attempt to escape through FTL travel. Every time they destroyed one mine, its neighbors adapted their patterns to maintain the enclosure. We're receiving multiple distress calls from the enemy fleet, Lee reported. They're requesting immediate ceasefire and trying to open negotiations. Park stood from her command chair, her expression firm. Put me on all frequencies, Lieutenant. It's time they understood exactly what they've started. At her signal, Sun Mi transmitted across every communication channel, ensuring that every Drachnid ship would hear the message. Attention Drachnid vessels. Park's voice carried clear authority. You entered Federation space with hostile intent. You attacked a peaceful merchant vessel. You threatened human lives and property. Now you face the consequences of those actions. The main screen showed several Drachnid ships trying desperately to find a way through the minefield, only to pull back as the intelligent weapons adjusted their positions to block every attempt. Your ships are surrounded. Your weapons are depleted. Your engines are contained within our gravity wells. The question now is whether you wish to continue this fight and face destruction, or accept the generosity of human mercy. The bridge crew watched as the Drachnid vessels slowly powered down their weapons. Their once proud formation had been reduced to a trapped cluster of ships, completely at the mercy of the human task force. We're receiving a signal from the Drachnid flagship, Lee announced. They're requesting terms of surrender. Park nodded, satisfaction visible in her expression. The turning point of the battle had arrived. But more importantly, it marked a turning point in human-Drachnid relations. From this day forward, they would understand that humanity's apparent weakness was merely a choice, and that choosing peace was far wiser than testing human resolve. Send them our terms, she ordered, and make sure they understand. This lesson applies to all their forces. The next fleet they send won't receive such gentle treatment. The battle was ending, but its impact would echo through the galaxy. Humanity had shown that its ships, whether warships or merchants, were never to be taken lightly. The wreckage of battle drifted through space like fallen leaves in a cosmic wind. The star horizon and its 5 companion ships maintained their defensive positions around the surrounded Drachnid fleet. Of the 30 ships that had begun the attack, only 12 still had functioning systems. From her command chair, Captain Park watched as the remaining Drachnid vessels powered down their weapons. Their once proud formation had been reduced to a scattered group of damaged ships. The battle had become more than just a military engagement. It was a clear message about humanity's true capabilities. Status report. Park called out to her bridge crew. 11 enemy ships completely disabled, Kang reported from Tactical. 7 destroyed when they refused to stand down. The remaining 12 are in various states of damage, but still operational. Navigator Kim added, the Drachnid flagship is moving into position for docking, Captain. Their engines are at minimal power, and their weapon systems are offline. The battle had been a masterclass in human combat tactics. Each time the Drachnids had tried to use their superior numbers, the human ships countered with superior strategy and technology. The alien commanders had learned the hard way that quantity didn't always overcome quality. Prepare the main docking bay, Park ordered. Security teams in position. I want to greet our guests personally. The Star Horizon's docking bay was larger than most merchant vessels would need, another hint at its true nature. Park stood at the airlock with a security detail, waiting as the mechanical systems completed the docking sequence with the Drachnid flagship. When the airlock opened, the Drachnid commander had to duck to enter the human vessel. Its iridescent scales had lost their proud shine, now a dull gray that reflected its defeat. The alien's multiple eyes blinked rapidly, adjusting to the human lighting. "Captain Park," the commander spoke through its translator. "We meet again, though not as I had planned." Park maintained a professional demeanor despite their history. "You chose this outcome when you attacked a peaceful vessel. The battle could have been avoided." The massive alien shifted uncomfortably. "We did not understand. Your ships appeared weak, defenseless. This was meant to be an easy victory to expand our territory. Instead, it became an expensive lesson," Park replied. "Human ships are never truly defenseless, and human space is never easy to conquer." Around them, both human and Drachnid crew members worked to stabilize damaged systems and treat the injured. The battle's cost was visible in every direction, but it had served its purpose. The Drachnid Empire would think carefully before threatening human vessels again. "Your tactics," the commander said, gesturing with one of its 4 arms. "The way your ships moved together predicted our responses. How is this possible with mere merchant vessels?" Park allowed herself a small smile. "That's the message we needed to send. In human space, even our merchants are warriors when needed. We survived countless conflicts to reach the stars. We learned to be prepared, to hide our strength until it's needed." The Drachnid commander's scales shifted to a deep blue, a sign of deep thought in their species. "My empire will not be pleased with this defeat. Our military doctrine demands victory or death." "Then perhaps it's time for your empire to adapt," Park suggested. "Humanity learned long ago that survival is more important than pride. Your ships can be rebuilt. Your crews can return home. That's worth more than dying for outdated military doctrine." Security teams escorted more Drachnid officers onto the star horizon as surrender proceedings continued. Each alien commander witnessed the same truth. Their mighty fleet had been outmaneuvered and defeated by ships they had dismissed as simple merchants. "The terms of surrender are simple," Park explained to the gathered alien officers. "You will withdraw from human space. Your damaged ships will be allowed to repair and retreat. In return, you will carry our message back to your empire." "What message?" the Drachnid commander asked. "That humanity values peace, but we are always prepared for war. That our merchants and civilians are under protection. That any future aggression will be met with even stronger response." The battle had achieved more than just military victory. It had established a new understanding between two species. The Drachnids had arrived believing themselves superior, only to learn that appearances could be deceiving. As the surrender proceedings continued, Park knew this encounter would shape future relations between humans and Drachnids. The message had been delivered not just in words, but in actions that would be remembered for generations to come. The Grand Hall of Earth Federation headquarters sparkled under crystal chandeliers as representatives from two species gathered for a historic moment. 3 months had passed since the battle that changed everything. And now humans and Drachnids stood together, ready to forge a new path forward. Captain Park stood at attention in her formal uniform, watching as diplomats from both sides reviewed the final details of the Earth-Drachnid Cooperation Treaty. The document represented more than just peace. It marked a fundamental shift in how the Drachnid Empire viewed humanity. Among the alien diplomats, Park recognized a familiar face. The Drachnid commander she had faced in battle now wore the formal robes of a diplomatic envoy. Its scales had regained their bright iridescence, shifting through shades of blue and green that indicated thoughtful calm. After the main ceremony, the former commander approached Park. Other delegates moved respectfully around them, aware of the significance of their meeting. "Captain Park," the Drachnid spoke, its translator now producing much clearer speech. "My new role feels strange, but perhaps it is fitting. Those who learn the hardest lessons should share their wisdom." Park nodded in greeting. "Your presence here shows great wisdom on your empire's part. Change isn't easy for any civilization. We studied the battle extensively, the Drachnid continued. Your tactics, your technology, but most importantly, your philosophy. We believe humans weak because you hide your strength. Our military doctrine taught us that power should always be displayed. Different species, different ways, Park replied. Humanity learned through centuries of our own conflicts that the strongest warriors aren't always the ones who survive. Around them, human and Drachnid crew members mingled, sharing stories and building bridges between their cultures. The failed raid had opened unexpected doors, leading to exchanges of knowledge that benefited both species. Your merchant ships, the former commander mused. They're all capable of defending themselves. Park smiled slightly. Let's just say we believe in being prepared. The Star Horizon and ships like her carry cargo, but they also carry humanity's determination to survive and thrive among the stars. Now we understand. The Drachnid scales rippled with amusement. It is because you are strong that you need not display it. My people always thought showing power brought respect. You taught us that true strength lies in knowing when to use it, and when to keep it hidden. The treaty signing proceeded smoothly, establishing new trade routes and cooperation protocols between the two species. But more importantly, it set guidelines for how their ships would interact in space, ensuring no future misunderstandings would lead to conflict. Later that evening, Park stood at a viewing window, watching ships from both species moving peacefully through Earth's orbit. The Star Horizon was docked nearby, preparing for its next cargo run. Will you continue your merchant routes, Captain? The Drachnid diplomat asked, joining her at the window. Of course, Park replied. That's who we are. Traders, explorers, builders of bridges between worlds. The weapons are just insurance, hoping we never need to use them again. News of the treaty spread quickly through the galaxy's communication networks. The story of how a small group of human merchant ships defeated a Drachnid battle fleet became something of a legend. But more importantly, it carried a message to all spacefaring races. Humanity's ships, no matter their apparent purpose, were never to be underestimated. The Star Horizon returned to its regular duties, carrying cargo between human colonies and now new Drachnid trading partners. Its crews rotated, its cargo holds filled and emptied, but it remained a symbol of humanity's approach to the stars. Peaceful when possible, formidable when necessary. As Park resumed her command chair for their first post-treaty voyage, she reflected on how one encounter had changed so much. The Drachnids had sought to prove their superiority and instead found equals. They had expected to teach humanity a lesson, but had learned one instead. The stars stretched out before them, filled with new possibilities. Other species watched and learned from the Drachnid experience. The message was clear: mess with a human ship at your own peril. For beneath every peaceful merchant vessel might lie the heart of a warrior, ready to defend humanity's place among the stars.